Okay, cool. All right. Hi,
Yeah.
Vanessa.
Hi. Oh, okay. We're recording. Yay.
We're recording. Thanks for being here with me. I am not a podcast host, so I don't know how to do an intro or any of those things, but I really enjoy you. I'm really
Same.
glad that you are here to talk to me about moving abroad and all the dynamics that go with that. I got to be on your podcast, and I'm just wondering if you would tell the people watching what your podcast is about.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm really excited because I was just editing the intro for the podcast that I have you on. Yours is actually coming out in March, which it's all so long, right? Like this process of recording and producing and all that. But I'm really excited because I love your story. I find it so inspirational. And I think where we are in the United States right now, like your story is one of the most critical stories that people can listen to, I think,
Mm.
given what you went through, the changes that are happening in our society, and the fact that you really can make a massive change in your life, which you've done and you've left and you've gone to another country and you've traveled. So I'm really excited about releasing that. But yes, to answer your question, my podcast is called 101 Ways Out. And it is all about escaping the rat race and the hustle culture of America, the crushing capitalism that we have, and going and living a life that's more authentic and true to you and more free, which I think most of us value freedom really heavily. I know I do. And so the genesis of it was a million years ago. I was working in corporate and gosh, I had the dream job that I always wanted. And I was still not happy. And I thought, well, gosh, I've
Mm.
achieved so much already at this relatively young age. I was 28 years old and I was like, gosh, shouldn't I be happy? Isn't this what everything tells me? Like, I should be happy. At that point in time, I had discovered some folks that were living very differently. There's a guy named Dominic who is a photographer for National Geographic, Rick Steves Europe, and he's traveling all over the world constantly, right?
Amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
So amazing. And so I was like, here I am. Like, I was living in New York City at the time. And I had already spoken with this gentleman, and I was like, I want to do more interviews with people like him that have gone on a different path and are doing these really incredible things. And so really it was just this curiosity and how do people make lives like that work and what drives them to do it. So fast forward such a long time. I'm 45 now, so that gives you an idea of how long it's taken me to actually finally do this project. I've interviewed 56 people that
Wow.
left like the constraints of their lives behind and started to create something that's new and true and beautiful. And it's been really inspiring.
I can only imagine just getting to talk to the variety of people that you get to talk to. There's so many paths, and I mean, that's the name of your podcast. There's so many ways. And before we moved abroad, I really, really thought there's one way, it's a transfer with my husband's company.
Yeah,
That's how we live abroad. And if it works, then that's how it works. And if not, oh well. And so I
totally.
think just hearing that so many people take their own path, I think is cool.
Absolutely. And I think you have an interesting perspective and some other folks I've talked to where you know that it's hard. You've done it. You have a unique situation because you're a family of seven. So you have navigated like this massive change. And it's not just you and your partner. And there are people I talk to in my life that so desperately want to leave the United States. And it's honestly, it's just the two of them and they
Hmm.
still feel like they can't do it. And I think like people like you, where you've done it with a big family, I've talked to people that have done it with aging parents. They brought their parents with them. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
there's so many things that we tell ourselves, oh, it can't be done. But I
Hmm.
think people are proving that it can be done. So I think what you're doing is so valuable.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting having done what we've done and we've had it come crashing down and what we thought was going to work didn't work. And so then we either had to go home or pivot. And so we pivoted because we didn't want to
Yeah,
go home. But yeah, I think there's a lot of work that people can do around even switching the question from can I do this to how can I do this? Because I think your mind wants to protect you. And so it's like, is this even possible? And your brain goes, no,
yeah.
you
It's too
know?
overwhelming. It's scary and it's
Yeah,
overwhelming.
exactly. And so I really had to go through this process of realizing, oh, like I need to be asking like how I can do this, not whether I can do it or not. I think Americans are feeling a lot of urgency right now.
Yeah.
A lot of urgency. It's interesting. I just read this thread where somebody had just left for a short time and they were like, wow, my nervous system
Oh my
just
God.
feels so different. Have you had that experience when you
Yes, we went
leave?
to Canada for like a weekend. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
what was it? We were there Friday through, we left Monday, so like a long weekend. And
Yeah,
we had a lot of activities planned, so I didn't look at the news, I didn't look at social media. We were very immersed in doing other things, and it was like such a relief to be away, even if it was just across the border, you know?
totally. Oh, that brings up a question for me too, actually. I think people get out and they feel like, oh, phew, I'm out. But what you just mentioned makes me also wonder how much is the habitual things that we do in America, like really being tuned in, knowing all the news, sort of this constant vigilance that I think is happening right now. It's interesting to me to just go, okay, how much is America specifically, and then how much is those habits? It's like you have a habit reset when you go somewhere different.
Oh, totally. Totally. So much of it is that. It's like such a dichotomy, right? Because on the one hand, you need to be aware of what's happening so that you can fight it, right?
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, it's so bad for your mental health. It's so
Mhm.
bad for your mental health. I don't know the right balance because I know there are moments where I will just go and spiral into the insanity that's happening, not only in the country, but in the world, right? Especially with the Epstein files, the release of that, the rise of like
Yeah.
the extreme right in many different countries. It's not just the United States, although it's clearly like in some ways like the pinnacle of the downfall is happening in the United States.
Hmm.
Um, but if you just live there, which we can't control it, right? We can call our representatives and we can write letters and we can protest and we can choose what to subscribe to and what not to subscribe to in terms of our dollars. We
Yeah.
don't control what's happening, right? So it's really bad for our mental health. It's really bad for our productivity. And it's really bad for our families if we just live in that space. So I do think there is like some level of protection that we need to put in place for ourselves in terms of what we consume and how much we consume. I don't know the right answer to that, but I do know that it's a really real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I definitely agree that checking out is not the answer. I think, unfortunately, white people have checked out for too long. It's not the right solution.
Yeah.
But it is interesting taking cues from, like, from the civil rights movement and just listening to voices who have been in the fight for a much longer time. And you see the focus on taking a break from it and also choosing joy and choosing to live, to
Yeah.
still live. And I think it's interesting. A big part of my motivation in this work is this is your life now. So whether you're staying and choosing to resist or whether you are choosing to go, this is your life. So you can enjoy it or you cannot enjoy it.
Totally.
We can't choose the time that we live in. We can just choose, okay, well, what am I going to do with this?
It's interesting too, because like the idea of staying and resisting, I feel like you and I talked about that recently, not in a recording. And I think a lot of folks that speak with, and especially women are the ones that are really tuned into what's happening right now, like above and
Mm,
beyond. Some men are, but most men aren't. So it's mostly women.
yeah.
And I've talked to a lot that are like, oh, I should, it's my country and I'm going to stay and I'm going to resist and I'm going to fight for it and all this stuff. That I was reading something recently about like class in America, right? Like there's a whole bunch of research about class in America, class across the board, not just race, but like within white society as well. And a lot of that idea of like staying and fighting is really class based, right? It's like
Mm,
this, it's fascinating. But the people that have the like ability that haven't been trained, oh, you should stay and you should fight, like are very comfortable leaving. So it's so interesting to kind of think like, where does this conditioning come from that I believe I should stay and fight? Is that something that's true, like true to me that I should stay and fight? Do I really win? Or, and am I okay like sacrificing my life potentially to fight, depending on where things go? Or is that also something that is deeply ingrained in my belief system because I was taught that that's how I'm supposed to feel about things? I guess it's annoying because then you inspect everything about, well, why do I believe this? And do I truly believe this? And how do I know?
yeah, I posted recently something about how hearing that is really a hook for anybody who is justice minded. It's really the same thing, I think, that happens to women over and over and over again, which is like sacrifice yourself for the greater good. I hear a lot of Black women talking about this. They're like, we're done. They have been like the beacon of sanity for a really long time. And I love to see Black women leave specifically, but just in general, I think this is an issue with women who have been conditioned to give up everything for everybody else. And it's interesting for me coming into a place of, no, I can choose here. And actually, if I'm completely burning myself out, then the people I care about most won't have any me. I owe it to myself, but I want to be here for my family. I want to be protective of myself for my family. I want to be happy to be alive. I want to be happy to be in my life. And I think it's okay to choose that. And I think a lot of us have some pretty deep conditioning that it's not okay to choose that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then also that there's something wrong with you if you're
Mm,
not happy with what you have, and you should just be happy with your life, right?
yeah.
But you said when we talked that you felt like you were drowning in America, and when you left, you felt like you could finally breathe. Did
Mhm.
you realize that you were going to feel that way, or was it kind of a surprise?
I realized I was going to feel that way because every time I left to travel internationally, I felt like I was coming up for air.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that this topic of I need to go for my own self is really dear to me. But there's so much pushback. Actually, I just posted something on Threads and I was so annoyed.
What happened? What was it?
I just posted about how when we were considering leaving, I was struggling with depression on and off in America.
Yeah.
And
I think we all are. I
yeah,
mean, you're not
yeah.
alone. Like that is happening.
Yes, definitely anxiety. For me,
Yeah.
anxiety turned into depression, like unchecked anxiety turned into depression. And I mean, my husband asked me a very good question, which was, what if your depression doesn't go away when we leave? Because I
Yeah.
really felt because of the coming up for air piece, I really did feel like, oh, if I leave, I think this is going to help me a lot.
Good.
And I mean, but his question was a reasonable one. I haven't been in a depressive state since we left.
Yeah.
I've had anxiety still, but anyway, but it was interesting. So I posted that and then I linked to a YouTube video on this topic. And the first comment I got was something about like, but so many people in the world are suffering. And I'm like, okay, that's not the subject here. But it was so telling because that's people are coming at us right now with, but you should stay and fight. But it's not about you. But
Yeah.
this is my life. I can only make decisions for my life. And yes, I love to see people resisting. I just want to make sure for people, is that because that's what you know you're supposed to do, or is it because you feel guilty? Our
Yeah.
motivations, I think, are really important right now.
I know for myself and for people I've spoken with, whenever I talk about wanting to go somewhere else, the people I'm close with, cousins, friends, really don't want me to go. Right.
Yeah.
So there's that pressure too of why don't you just stay and we'll fight together? Or, I don't know if this is something that you've experienced or you've had with your clients. People are really open to commiserating about how horrible things are. Let's call, let's go protest together. Let's go let's write letters. Like people are really open to that. But when you start talking about let's make a plan to go somewhere else, here are the places I'm thinking about, all of
Hmm.
a sudden it's like you get shut down or the conversation dies or well, I don't have the privilege of leaving like you have. Well, not necessarily, right? But it's almost like it's a bridge too far for people to
Hmm.
really open their minds to that being possible. Why?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really common, I think. I've definitely heard other people say they've been like throwing these ideas out to their community or their friends or whatever. And yeah, people do shut down. And I think some of it is that preemptive question that I was talking about earlier, which is this possible? No.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think there is, of course, there are many things that are not possible for everyone, right? That's just life. That
Yeah.
that's every topic everywhere. Well, yes, there's always going to be somebody this is not possible for. And I'm really sensitive to that because my friend who died of cancer, she would have loved to live abroad. That's not a reality. Like sometimes life doesn't let you go, but I do think that life lets you make many more choices than we think we have.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you've seen with your audience. People have more of a choice than they realize. That doesn't mean they have all the choices in the world, but I do think that mentality has a lot to do with it. And I mean, some people just don't want to leave, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's okay. But for somebody who does feel like they're drowning, they do feel like a really clear difference in their body when they leave. For
Mhm.
those people, I'm like, go, please go. Please go.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for a month, like you have a reset. That's okay. It doesn't have to
Absolutely.
be forever, you know? Maybe taking some more agency with what is possible. If I really truly do feel so much better when I've left,
Hmm.
let's look
Explore
into
that.
that.
Yeah, 100%. So I know I'm like beating a dead horse here, but I keep circling because, and I don't think I would do this if Trump wasn't in office, if the Epstein files weren't released, but there's so much of that right now that's like hanging over our collective heads. It's certainly not just mine. I think that in general, a lot of women have gotten to a point of like, I don't want to continue supporting this culture of exploitation, this patriarchy that clearly hates women, that clearly wants to exploit people. I mean, it's pretty gross, like where things have gotten in the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks, like what we're seeing, it's pretty gross, you know? And I was talking to somebody, it's two conversations I want to share with you just real briefly, and then I would love to get your take and what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and kind of what you're feeling. So the first is one of the people I interviewed, she was one of few women in a managerial position at a logistics company, right? Like shipping products
Mhm.
across the US. And she finally decided she was going to go leave, quit, travel in an RV. She says, live in my camper down by the river, which I think I just love
Love
it.
it. Yes.
And she did. Like she literally did. And she's like, I'm kind of giving up on the patriarchy. And I thank all the women that came before me that worked so hard so that I could have this choice to have a job and a career and then choose to leave and go do something else. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yes, yes, amen. And I spoke with somebody. So that's one, her name's Taylor. And I spoke with a woman yesterday who she is, she was born in Singapore, lived in the Netherlands and all across Europe, Spain and Portugal. And now she lives in Mexico. And she was telling me like she also was one of the few women, and she's older, right? She's a bit Taylor's younger, she's older, so it's kind of like this various
Mhm.
age.
Yeah.
And she said like she can count more than 20 times that she was in a meetings with people and they just assumed that she was the secretary and asked her to get coffee for them. I'm like, really, in this day and age, like what? And so I asked her, like, I've read that there are in other countries things are more equitable than they are in the United States. So that's better for women. Like the Netherlands is one of the ones that keeps coming up as a better place. Like you've lived in all these places. What do you see? And she's like, it's really the same. Like it's
Mm.
really the same across the board. Like sexism is sexism. It's like really deeply rooted. She's like, there are countries that are trying to do more and trying to be better. But as a woman, like your experience on the ground is going to be pretty similar. And then she said that her experience living in Mexico City is the most safe that she's felt out of anywhere she's lived in a really long time, which kind of shocked me. Anyway, I say all that because I feel like this like idea of women kind of just getting fed up and not wanting to take it anymore, but their lived experiences being so similar across various places, like is kind of interesting and sad at the same time. So I'm going to be quiet now.
Hmm.
I'd love to hear like your take on that and what you're seeing.
In the places that I've lived, women are definitely just like holding everything together, just like in America,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see. I mean, I think women are mad about that
Yeah.
in a lot of places. I didn't feel that as much in Georgia. And maybe it's just I wasn't in those conversations or something.
Georgia was a communist country as part of the USSR, right?
Yeah, it's a post-Soviet country. Yep, yep.
That's fascinating. Okay, sorry. Okay, we can come back to that maybe, but that's a really good point.
Something that's really interesting about Georgia is women are highly esteemed in a way that they aren't necessarily in America. First of all, in Georgia, there was a female king
Oh.
So they have this King Tamar was a woman.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
so they have this history of like esteeming women. Now, I think that people wouldn't necessarily understand that from just like looking at the culture because in Orthodoxy, the women still have to wear a skirt into the church. They
Oh,
still have to
wow.
cover their head. But actually, the way that I've heard Orthodox men talk about women, and they're like, yes, the woman, she's like strong and powerful, and like we respect her. And like she's like,
Yeah.
like the
That's different.
statue, this is interesting. The statue above Tbilisi is called Mother of Georgia, and she's holding a sword for the enemies, and she's holding a bowl of wine for the friends. We're either going
Whoa.
to welcome you or we're going to fight you. But like there is a lot of like female imagery in Georgia, which is interesting,
Yeah. Oh
you
my God, that's
know?
really interesting.
Yeah, especially because I think when you look face value at Orthodoxy, you don't necessarily understand that because like women aren't priests or things like that. So anyway, it's interesting. I definitely feel that the women in Portugal, in a lot of ways, are making the world go round. And I think they're tired of it. They're really tired of it. Similar to America, I don't think that they're given like the power
Mhm.
that men have, but they're actually the ones like literally holding everything together
Yeah.
and getting shit done. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. And for that reason, all the more I think that we as women have to learn to take care of ourselves. You know what? I'm going to choose ease and this is my life. And I'm
Yeah.
going to make sure that I'm okay because I deserve to be okay. And I am holding the community together. I am, in many ways, holding the family together. Yeah, I love to see it when women start to choose themselves.
Yeah.
And the irony about women choosing themselves is it benefits everybody, unlike when men become gazillionaires and exploit everybody. So, yeah, it's a really different thing when a woman decides, I'm going to make sure that my well-being is taken care of. And I
Yeah.
think moving abroad for me was definitely that.
That's so interesting. I think you're absolutely right.
This ties into the work that I do because I think understanding personality and understanding like different, well, understanding your own personality and strengths, but then understanding like different aspects of every country personality and culture, like that really matters, I think, moving abroad. Right now, we see a lot of hype around certain countries, but it's not really asking the deeper questions, which is like, what is your temperament? What are your strengths? What are you looking for? Even like, where will your nervous system feel at rest? Because I think that because of the urgency and like, we gotta leave,
Yeah.
everybody feels like anywhere would be better. And yes, for a little while, anywhere would be better, right?
Totally.
Like it would just feel like a rest, right? But then when you think about like longer term country fit, the question really comes into the chat. Oh, what actually makes my nervous system feel safe? And what are my strengths? And am I going to be like rubbing up against this culture, or is the culture going to feel like a relief to me?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a fantastic way to look at it.
So before we started recording, we were chatting about how different countries reward certain things and really punish or just don't reward other things, and how America rewards like hustle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and
Like working 12-hour days, working yourself to the bone. And like there's so much hustle porn with entrepreneurship too. Like these people that make their
Mhm.
whole livings teaching people, like telling them like you shouldn't have a family, you should only work. Like if you don't work 80 hours a week, you don't really want it. You're not going to be a CEO, you're not going to be successful. And it's like, well, shit, can't I want to either have my own business or have a career and not kill myself in the process and have an actual life too? No,
Yeah,
like that's not what it's all about. Not
right.
here.
Yeah. I think that, like, just generally speaking, many places in Europe do that better. Like
Yeah.
the balance, even just the fact that you come to Europe in August, like everybody's on vacation. It's just, it's part of the rhythm. Vacation is part of what's expected. And somehow, I'm sure there's other countries like this too, but I do feel like America is way out there with this expectation of constant machine-like productivity.
Yes, totally. Totally.
Is this a subject that's come up at all as you've been doing interviews?
Yeah, I think there's this massive burnout factor that is one of the main things that drives people to do something different with their lives. They hit a
Hmm.
wall. A lot of times they hit a wall. And I think a lot of times they also realize life is finite and I'm at XYZ age. And is this really what I want to keep doing? Or,
Hmm.
and sometimes that's pretty young. There's a woman that I talked to that I think she was around 30 and she's like, I did the math. I was sitting in the bathroom very upset and I did the math on the calculator of my phone and realized I'm going to be doing this for like, I don't know, 40 more years. So maybe she was even younger than that. But then she's like, dear
Wow.
God, no, I can't imagine coming into this building for that long. And so for her, that's when she was like, no, I'm not doing it. And she quit and she's starting a dog daycare, boarding, etc., like business.
Yeah.
And another woman that was like, I would really like to be retired by the time I'm 40. She wanted to be retired earlier, like well, retired and then do her own thing. But
Yeah.
there's this like pull that I think keeps us going. And then some people have had like serious health issues and they've just continued working. Like two people I spoke with, one
Mm.
had fibroids and she was bleeding out, like hemorrhaging.
Mm.
And she had like, she was a really serious person, really serious worker. She was not vulnerable at all. So she couldn't like possibly go to the hospital and have it checked out. She had already scheduled this whole college tour for her son. And so she took him on the tour, even though she was bleeding heavily. And she said by the time she was done with the tour, he was like literally pushing her in a wheelchair because she was too weak to walk. She got home and her husband took one look at her and he was like, go to the hospital, you know?
Yeah.
And then she realized like, oh, my desire to be invulnerable is literally killing me. And so she started thinking I should do something different with my life because everything that I'm doing, which is like to be invulnerable and to keep going, to push through, is like not good for me at all. And then another lady that I spoke with, who is a Black woman in America, she worked through, she had cancer, she had chemotherapy, she had surgeries, and she was literally in her hospital bed working. And then she got back from this horrible like experience where she had to take a little bit of time off, obviously, to kind of recover. And she got back, and her boss was joking around with some coworkers and her and said, oh, it's good to see you back from your vacation. And she's like, are you kidding me? I just had like surgery for my cancer. I was hospitalized. Like, why would you say that? Oh, it's insane. And so for
Right.
her, like, and she kept working there. Then she found a different job. And it was like, at some point, she's like, this is just, I need to do something different. So she started a farm and a micro school. And so that's what she's focused on now. I'm like, wow, that is a big pivot going from like corporate tech support and
Yes.
sales into like agriculture, but good for
That's
her.
amazing. That's amazing. I'm sure it feels really therapeutic in comparison.
I think so. I mean, she said she's 97% happy.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
3%
Well,
she's still figuring out.
I think that's so real. I never want to set people up to arrive after going through the trouble of an international move. There's this hilarious Adam Sandler skit where he's pretending to be like an Italian travel agent and you're still you.
Mm,
You, sad you in America, still sad you in Italy. We can't fix that. And I mean, yeah, tongue in cheek, like actually moving abroad. I mean, for me, it fixed a lot of things. It also brought in a lot of new complications, right?
yeah,
And so I think that with anything in life, any decision in life, there's no perfect choice.
yeah,
There's only the choice that has the negatives that you can live with, that you're choosing to live with. And so, yeah, I just did a YouTube episode about here's the things that drive me crazy here. I live in sunny Portugal, but I live at the beach and the beach houses don't have like heat. So like I either plug in a heater or I'm in my house like all layered up and freezing because the houses are meant to keep in the cold for the summers,
Oh, wow.
but that means they keep in the cold in the winters.
Oh, no.
I can't tell you how many times I've gone outside and I've been shocked how much warmer it was outside than it was in my house.
Oh
So
my gosh. Oh, that's
yeah,
crazy.
I mean, there's things like that where you're like, yeah, there's things that drive me a little bananas, and the things that I came for are more essential. The
Yeah.
pros for me outweigh those cons. And I think that that's any decision, any country decision. And so you have to really understand like yourself, and you have to understand what are the real benefits of this particular place.
I have
Will
a
do
question
well
for you.
here. Yeah.
Because you understand you so you're doing you're helping people figure out where they want to go in Europe and
Mm.
Turkey, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Can I give you a few different factors and you tell me here's a good place? Is that possible?
Maybe
We can try. We can try it.
we could try.
Okay. Let's go. 'Cause it's kind of a game. Okay. I'll do the first one that's really like selfish. Somewhere that's good for a kid,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere that is safe for a woman, somewhere that has really good hiking.
Mm. Mm-hmm. As far as children go, uh, children are valued pretty much everywhere except America. So you're going to be good
Oh
with
my
that one.
gosh. Okay. Yay.
As far as, activities or whatever, like I think generally speaking, in a lot of places in Europe, if you're near a city, like you're going to be able to find activities for your kiddo. So there's that. The same thing for like safety for women. I hear so many people say about Portugal, like I came and I could walk at night and I wasn't worried. And
Yeah.
like I felt that way absolutely in Tbilisi as well. So I think I know like there's always like neighborhoods or whatever, but I don't have any countries in my brain that are coming up as like, this is super unsafe for women. So, like, I don't know, safety is just so much less of an issue here
Oh, interesting.
overall, which is interesting. So, then that brings us to hiking. Lately, I have been really fascinated with both Albania and Bulgaria, which both have mountainous regions and paths for you to actually go and stay there. As far as like infrastructure for hiking in Albania, that I don't know the answer to. But even in Georgia, like a lot of people will come and hike across the Caucasus. So, like long extended hiking trips.
Oh, that's
So,
amazing.
yeah, I feel like basically like any place with elevation. So, that would not be the Netherlands.
Yeah.
There's a ton of mountains in Europe. So, northern Italy has amazing mountains. Southern France and eastern France has amazing mountains. I mean, even Portugal, we don't have like amazing mountains, but we have enough elevation change that hiking is still enjoyable here. There's a lot of rivers here,
Ooh.
beautiful inland rivers here. Yeah. So this is like not specific enough because I feel like a lot of places could
You
check
gotta
those
keep narrowing it
boxes.
down.
Yeah. So I'm curious for you. I think a lot in terms of we started this conversation with like how people are feeling this urgency,
Yeah.
and it's really easy to be motivated by the fears, right? The like get me out of here. I mean, that's my brand. Get me out of
Yes.
here.
It's a good one to have.
There's that just really visceral, I just need to get out, I don't care where, which like absolutely. Sometimes you can't make decisions while you're in the pressure cooker. So there's an element of like if you just need to get out somewhere even for a few months, like temporary to start and then figure out the rest of the plan, like when your nervous system isn't like blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
Yeah, I really encourage that. But so there's the fears in the one hand, but I'm curious for you. Do you feel like you have a good grasp of your hopes? Because I feel like it's much easier to identify the kind of country that you are wanting to go to when you have a better idea of what are my specific hopes. I don't know.
Totally. I'll say that one of my personality flaws is and has always been that I always think there's something better out there. Whether, you know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah.
this state, this job, you name it, like, oh, is there something better? Oh, I should go look and
Mm,
see. So I have a hard time thinking that anything's really forever, ever, except for my
yeah.
husband. I finally accepted like this is forever, which is like sad.
Lucky
But it did
guy.
take he's a great human. It just took a long time for me to be like, okay, uh-oh, what are the hopes? I think I'm drawn to pleasant weather, although I would like to travel and experience seasons, but I'd like to be in a place that has pleasant weather all the time.
Hmm.
Because I want to be outdoors as much as possible. I want to be close enough to nature where I can go hiking as much as possible.
Hmm.
Um, I love the mountains. I love a good river. I love a good beach. I really want to have a community to be part of. So
Yeah.
locals and expats, want to be able to kind of blend amongst that. Good food would be great. It's not like the only thing that matters, but like I love Mexican food, so Mexico's nice for that perspective. Thai food,
Hmm.
I love that. So I think I'd be okay with that. One of the things that I'm really intrigued about, so I say nothing like it's nothing, what's forever. I don't think it's forever, but like I am really interested in Thailand
Hmm.
because they have a really strong Buddhist culture in most of Thailand.
Yeah.
And I think that peaceful energy and caring about all creatures, really low rates of crime, really safe community environment, really positive vibes would be such a cool thing to be around for a while and feel very night and day different from what's happening in the United States right now. So to
Hmm.
me, like I'm really intrigued by going and spending time in Thailand. I would love to live in a country that really puts a premium on women being treated equally, but that really kind of narrows it down to the Nordic countries. And I don't know that it's first of all, they're expensive, they're cold, and I don't know that I'd be okay with such extreme darkness for so much of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. I think it's really good to just hear you identify what the things are. I don't think it has to be a character flaw that you like variety. You
That's fair.
know? Because I think that something that is open to a lot of people right now that they don't realize is you don't have to pick a place, know it's the perfect place, and then stay there forever. You don't have to jump into a residency application
Yeah.
and like a big long visa process. You really don't have to do that. And so, as I listen to you, I just think this could be a really wonderful opportunity to slow travel. I know that you've looked into different Thailand visa options, but to spend some time and just know like it's okay, this is not going to be our forever place, but this is going to be a place where we can grow and regulate and make wonderful
Yeah.
memories together and have an adventure as a family. I think, especially for families, um, it's not necessary to think in terms of what country am I going to immigrate to right now.
That's a good
Uh,
point. My husband, he's like very easily, we could go to Mexico for 6 months and Canada for 6 months. We could very easily do that and just kind of split our time between those two, which is
mhm.
true, right? You don't need anything really special for that. But I wonder, like, for you guys, because you did go to several different places, right? You mentioned starting out, you were in Georgia for a while. How did you decide that? I know I've asked you this before, I can't remember. But how did you decide that Portugal was the right place for you guys for now?
Yeah, so for us, we had a series of unfortunate events that happened when we were in Georgia, which I think is another thing that I like to help people understand is that like there will always be things that come up that you didn't plan for. And
Yeah.
so you can make a lot of plans, but the world is unpredictable, life is unpredictable, and so that definitely happened to us. I think it would have been less disruptive to us if we had realized that usually your first stop isn't your final stop. That would have
Oh,
been really great to know. Even just being in the international community, looking at a lot of other families and just how transient the international community tends to be. I just did not understand. Oh, Georgia, just because you want to stay there for like 5 years And we could have, like, we could have stayed there. And Georgia is one of the places where you don't need a visa and you just like leave after a year and you can come back
That's great.
with your passport. I mean, I think they're getting a little bit pickier with that now, but yeah, like that was our plan. So we arrived. We had been nomadic for a bit, and so we were really wanted to settle, and so we bought furniture for a whole house instead of choosing to live in a furnished place. There's things that I would totally do differently now. So when we left, it had to do with proximity to the States. Like, we really needed to be closer. My mom got diagnosed with Alzheimer's while we were living in Georgia, and I'm an only child. So we felt like we needed to be like a one flight to America rather than like Georgia is pretty far out there and it's not got a ton of direct flights. I mean, it's not got any direct flights to the States, but also just, yeah, like it just takes a really long time for
That
travel.
makes sense.
It was that, and it was also some financial things. And like we got like an unexpected tax bill, and just like all of these things sort of combined. And we were like, okay, we can't stay here. Like, we're not making progress like we were hoping financially. So then we had heard about Portugal. And so we began to like look into it and realize, okay, we can, like, we had visited Portugal, we enjoyed it, and there was a clear path, which I think that there's something to be said for places that have a clear path.
Mm.
It's been a bumpy path. Like, it's not an efficient always path, but it
Yeah.
was at least laid out. And yeah. And nervous system wise, for me, Portugal feels really good. This, I think, goes back to those personality strengths and understanding yourself and your family's personality. And for us, we were really exhausted by the hustle culture, by feeling like we were burning out all the time, feeling like just trying to even keep up with the schedule in America just feels positively exhausting, especially with five kids. I needed to unplug from that. And so culturally, Portugal is quite chill. People are not in a rush. For some people, that doesn't feel safe. Like, I've seen people come here and they really like autonomy and they like to be able to choose their path and go get it. And I'm that way in some ways, but my bigger need was restfulness. My bigger need was like, please don't make me rush all the time. But for the people who are like, I need really clear instructions that I can follow, and I need to know that when I go to the office and I give them this paperwork, they're actually going to process it in the way that I expect. The people who are
Yeah.
like, get it done, get it done, get it done, they are miserable here. So you really have to understand, like, yes, Portugal is gorgeous and there are beaches and the culture is like really nice for vacation. But do I know about myself that efficiency is really, really valuable to me? Okay, move to Northern Europe. Like,
Yeah.
not Portugal. But that's why Portugal made sense for us because the things that mattered to us are available here. I laugh a little bit when people move to Portugal straight from the States because, like, part of what benefited us is Georgia is amazing, but it's chaotic. Portugal feels like moving abroad light if you've lived in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
The things that upset people, I'm just like, it's like not a big deal after living in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Um,
That's crazy.
yeah,
What kind of thing? What, like, give me an example of what you had to experience.
oh gosh, I don't know. In Georgia, different places that we lived, because we lived in a couple of different places. The last place we lived was a little bit out of Tbilisi. And so we had to take a cab because we didn't own a car. So we had to take a cab to go grocery shopping. And then I didn't particularly like that grocery option, but it was the grocery option that made sense for us. And so the whole grocery shopping experience was like super draining to me
Yeah.
there. And then cab rides, I was endlessly getting headaches in cab rides because I'm really sensitive to scent. So, like, everybody has their hangy, smelly thing, and then there's the music, and there's the beads going back and forth, and there's no seat belts, and you're sliding across the back seat. I mean, it's a whole sensory experience, which is really fun for a trip. And it's
Yeah.
like really hard to get your groceries that you have to feed your 7 people with.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
yeah. So when I moved here and I could walk to Aldi, and my walk to Aldi involved like, oh, hi, ocean. It's just, it felt like,
Yes, that makes sense.
yeah. So there were things that just felt, I don't know if you've heard about making habits and like friction points, but there were a lot of friction points
Yeah,
there that I don't experience here. And I appreciate that.
that's great. Yeah, that's a really good point because the easier it is to have access to the things that you need, like life is just incrementally better, right? Like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I don't have to take a cab now. I can just walk. That's I can get everything I need in one place. That's better. I don't have to
Mhm.
deal with like chaotic noise and sense. That's better. And all these little
Mhm.
things add up to now my quality of life is just meaningfully better.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a deep, deep love of Georgia, but I think it became clear to me pretty soon in the first couple of years. No, I didn't think we were going to have to leave as soon as we did, but like I knew that I couldn't imagine myself like growing old there. And that had to do with things like my kitchen would electrocute me unless I wore like rubber shoes.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. That's horrible.
The Georgians are an amazing people who've come through really turbulent times in their country, but that means like a lot of people are jerry rigging the electric, right? Or just the things that we're used to with like codes and approvals. I mean, we in the first place we lived, our electric box like burst into flames on the outside of our house, and somebody had to come running up to us and help put it out. Obviously, like not every home in Georgia is that way, but there were just things like that where I'm like, I can't be like zapped by my sink for the rest of my life. I just that's my line. And I'm sure that if I had owned a place and I could have gotten my own electric done, there's ways that I could have gotten around that there. But yeah, the Georgians are an amazing, resilient people who've like made do when their structures had fallen apart, like after the Soviet Union
Yeah.
fell. Yeah. Anyway, so all of those things, like their character building. But for me, it was like, I don't think I can do that long term.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I really think in finding country fit, like different environments amplify different versions of you.
Yeah, totally.
And
Totally.
I don't know if that's a topic that's come up. I don't know if a lot of people are able right now because people do feel in crisis. I'm not sure if they're able to think on that level of who do I want to be? What could a culture bring out in me? And I don't think I was thinking on that level, but it's something that I think is worth considering.
It's a really good question. I think most people are just looking for something safe and most, not all, and something affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a woman that I spoke with. Her name's Hannah. Actually, I have a catch up with her later today, which I'm really looking forward to. But she lived all over the United States and then she had a child. And that was really the breaking point for her because it was getting to the point where her kid had to go to school.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't have my baby go to school in America where
Mm-hmm.
gun violence is such a pervasive threat.
Yeah.
I just could never like live with it and
Uh-oh.
forgive myself. So she ended up moving to Mexico. And she said
Mm.
that her kid, whereas in the United States, she was really shy. And I think she had gone to daycare, maybe even like the first year of school, but
Mm-hmm.
she was like really shy and really questioning herself and really started to like become quiet and not speak
Mm.
up and not be joyful. As soon as they moved to Mexico and she started going to school there, she's blossomed and she's playing with all the kids and she's coming home dirty every day and like she's just being a kid. And she's like, it
Yeah.
was just the cultural difference. But for her, I don't think it was like, where all in the world could I possibly live? It was like, I can go to Mexico. I have a friend in Mexico. I know I can get there. And similar to conversations you and I've had in the past, her husband was totally clueless about it all. She would be a good person to talk to. I can connect you guys. But she shared with me that she had gone on a scouting trip. They had gone on a scouting trip to Mexico. And she was like in one of the towns and she's like, let's go look at this school. And her husband's like, well, why? And she's like, because I want to see about maybe putting our daughter here. He's like, what? Like he was just so not even aware. And then it was like she had done all the paperwork and everything to get them, able to move. And she's like, hey, it's just a couple months till it's a couple months till we're going to be leaving. Don't you think maybe you should put in your notice at your job? And he's like, we're really doing that? What? But they've moved and they're making it
Yeah.
work. And he's like, now he was like working in the National Park Service. So he
Okay.
doesn't have a job there. He's a stay-at-home dad, but like he's enjoying his life. He's surfing every day. They have a comedy
Yeah.
club that they run in the backyard because their friend lives next door to them and has this thing going on. So
Amazing.
it's like life is good. It's different. The kid is blossoming, which I think as a parent, like we all want for our children. So,
Yes.
but it is so interesting just to hear people's stories of like, we know we need to go. And for me, like I think we were both like in tears when she was talking about her kid and the school shootings. Cause I'm like, yes, that is before all of the bullshit that is happening now with Trump and his idiotic agenda. That was the number one thing for me too. I was like, I got to get out of here. I can't have my kid being in a school and getting shot. Like, I cannot do that. I remember
Mm.
talking to my dad about it when we were still on talking terms. And he's like, Vanessa, have you looked at other states in the United States? I'm sure there are some states that are way safer than other states. And I'm like, okay, fair point. So then I started looking at different states, but there like wasn't a state in the United States that hadn't had a mass school shooting, at some point in recent years. So I'm like, yeah, there are states that are safer, but none of them are safe.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Right now, the focus is on politics of now and the politics of shock and awe
Yeah.
and constitutional crumbling. Even before that, it was completely unfathomable to people living in Europe that children were having to go to school and be afraid of getting shot. Fathomable. Even before the current chaos, like they're really, really problematic things. I left because I wanted to explore the world. I wish more people could leave for that reason now. I hate it for people that right now there's that fear driving more strongly than the desire for a new life.
Fear is such a powerful motivator, though. Like, it does take something extreme to get you out of your comfort zone. My husband and
Mm-hmm.
I, this is like before we ever expected to have a kid, but we always said by the time we're 40, we're going to retire. Our goal, we're going to retire. And if we have X amount of dollars in the bank, we're going to retire at 40 and we're going to go travel on a barge in Europe. That was our plan. It wasn't a plan, but it was like a dream.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, well, here we are, 45. We've met our goal. Like, we have a kid. Yeah, that's true. But we're still
Mm,
here. Isn't
right.
it time for that barge dream to come true? Come on. Or whatever the new version of it is. I do
Yeah,
want to go see the world. I definitely do. But
yeah,
there's so much fear also. Like there's fear of staying, but then there's the
yeah,
fear of going, you know?
absolutely. And I think a lot of people are in that kind of situation. I do think, as much as I don't like that people are in the situation where they can't just go as a dream, as a let's go adventure, you're very right. It does take, like, it takes a breaking point sometimes for us to change. Okay, if it takes a breaking point, and this is people's breaking point, and this is what ushers in the possibility for this new life that maybe they wouldn't have pulled the trigger on before,
Mm,
um, then that's good if you can hold the hopes and figure out what the hopes are in addition
yeah,
to the
totally.
fears. Like, you don't want to just be running. But if this is what clicks it in, where you go, okay, we're gonna finally do this. For me, it had a lot to do with the things that you are describing from the people you've interviewed, which is like, life is short. I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, I always wanted to live abroad, but I never did. Like, I don't want to have that regret at the end of my life. And so that was a big motivator for me. But also, having a multiracial family in America is hard. It's very, very hard, and it's getting harder. And so there are always the negative and the positive motivations, both. America isn't just suddenly problematic,
That's true.
you
It's
know?
like a whole history that we haven't ever reconciled, I guess. But now it's ugly and visible in ways that it wasn't before.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think it's more visible than it was to most people before,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Speaking
Go
of people
ahead.
that just wanted to go and like leave, there were two folks I spoke with that said that they wanted to go and travel, right? One of them was, I want to take my child. I want to have this experience traveling around with him. They've now settled in Spain, and their whole thing is like, yeah, it's not political. And so when people tell me it's not political, I'm like, oh, what does that mean about your politics? I always worry, you know, because I'm like, there should be at this point, there should be some flavor of politics that are like, you don't want to come back because of that. Maybe you didn't leave because of that, but you don't want to come back because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then another person, she said she and her husband like were drinking wine one night, and then they had this like realization, like, are we just going to be those people that always dream about leaving and living somewhere else? Are we ever going to actually do it? And so for
Right.
some reason, like that was the point, like you said, that they were like, okay, we're going to go. And so
Yeah.
they live in Portugal now, and her whole thing is also now she doesn't want to come back because of the way the country is. So it's a bit different. Like I think there's this desire for a lot of people to want to experience something new and fun and all of that, but for other reasons, like it's easier to stay. My husband's job won't let him work outside the United States. So
Mm,
for
yeah.
him, we've got to get to a point of like, are you ready to go? Are you ready? That's
Right.
the
Are
whole
you ready
challenge.
to break ties with this part of your life that has felt really stable? Or even is it financially feasible for us to
Yeah.
go? Those are really real questions.
What are the biggest things that you have coming up and questions and conversations you're having with folks? What are the biggest sticking points?
That are keeping people stuck.
Yeah.
I feel like we've addressed a lot of them, honestly. Some of
Yeah.
them are things that we opened the conversation with, which was like, I can't leave my mom,
Yeah.
or I can't leave my work, or whatever. So, yeah, like I think there's very real reasons. A lot of them I think aren't reasons that are not overcomable, but it does take more work to overcome some of those things and to figure out like what would that look like. Honestly though, I think a lot of people maybe are in an endless research loop even if they
Mm.
could go. Yeah, it's really a question of like, are you ready to be done researching, to stop researching and start moving? It's more comfortable to be in the research loop.
You
Um,
feel like you're doing something. You feel like you're being productive,
mhm,
even if you're
mhm.
really not.
Yeah, so I think that that's a really interesting thing. As with many things in life, you actually just have to start taking steps. I think people stay in the research loop because they want the 10-year plan to be clear, and yet that's not realistic even if you're staying in America. Being able to know your future, like that's not how life works. We
Oh,
can't
yeah.
predict the future. You don't know. And that's part of the reason I want to see people go because you don't know if your children and you and your parents and everybody is going to have health in 5 years or 2 years.
Mhm.
When people look and go, actually, I can't tell the future here either, it just feels safer.
I love that. Oh my God, I love that. You just said, I can't tell the future here either. I love that. You're
And I
so
think
right.
everybody's feeling that. Everybody's
Yeah.
feeling that. Like if they were to really think about it, they go, you're right. Like the future feels extremely unpredictable right now, which is
Yeah.
always true, but it doesn't always, we don't always clock that.
No, it's true. I mean, God, you're right. Like, will we be able to vote? Will women be able to vote? Or are we gonna start losing that right? Like, what's gonna happen at the polls in November? Will ICE agents be surrounding everything? Like, these are the things that we're worrying about, we're hearing, right?
Yeah.
That's not
And
such a
it's
great
like,
future.
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Something that my coach, Glow, says is hard stuff is going to happen. So, like, how about you just choose your hard stuff? Choose the hard stuff you actually want instead of just letting hard stuff happen to you. Hard
Mhm.
stuff will happen to us all, right? But it's like, well, I may as well choose the path that I want. And yes, that's going to be hard, but it's going to be like hard that I chose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Your coach, does she live in Thailand? Is she from
Yeah.
America?
She's from America and she lives in Thailand. She splits her time between Thailand and Bangkok, Bali, and Bosnia. Her husband is Bosnian. Yeah, so she's like, she's got, yeah, she's based in multiple places, but she's got a place in Thailand.
That's so cool. We don't
Right.
have to be confined by borders.
Yes, and I mean, I think that kind of mobile life isn't for everybody, but I do think that for a season, it could really be a possibility for a lot of people. A possibility that would feel like really a lot happier and safer. So, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So try, give it a try.
give it a try.
Work with Andy.
Come, let's plan your life. I love just helping people figure out. Right now, I'm helping somebody figure out their emergency exit plan. They're not sure even if they want to go or if they're ready to go, but they want to have that plan in place. You and I spoke about this the other day. Even if you're not ready to say, yeah, we're moving, I think it's really important for everybody to know what their line is,
Yes.
what their line in the sand is before they're like in the situation going, is this
You know,
it? When do
yeah.
I go?
When do
You
I go?
know?
It's gotten bad. It's gotten worse. Is it really that much worse? Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
One thing you and I talked about, which I would like to add here, and then we can talk more about like kind of the path we were on. But there does come a time where it's too late. There does come a time where it's too late to leave. And you and I were talking about Nazi Germany, which I know a lot of people are comparing what's
Hmm.
happening in the United States to the rise of Hitler and Nazi Germany. There are differences. Obviously, our economy is not in shambles at this point in time. Theirs was. However, when Hitler came to power, it was 1933, I believe. And then by the
Hmm.
time it was 1939, so there was a 6 year span. People could leave. They could leave until they couldn't. And when they could, when it was like 1939, they could still leave, but they had to give up like 90+% of their wealth to leave. So they could still get out, but they were leaving with basically nothing, right? They had to start over, hopefully somewhere else, and they were going to live in poverty. So they knew, but it was either that or death, right? When it came to that point. So all the people that had the means that could see the writing on the wall left
Hmm.
earlier when they could leave with all their wealth and the government wasn't capturing that. But when it got to
Hmm.
1939, they were capturing all of that wealth. And forgive me if I'm a little bit off on my 1939 date, but it was somewhere around there.
Hmm.
So that's the point where it does get to a point where you can leave and you can have what you have intact, right? All of your retirement savings, everything that you worked so hard for, your cash out on your properties, whatever. But like you can even keep your properties. I know a lot of people did that when they left Germany. So you can leave and have that now, or you can wait. And maybe if it goes the same way, you'll leave and you'll have basically nothing. Or the borders will close in the 1940s, is what happened, and you cannot leave and you are stuck. So if we kind of look at the parallels of where we are and the radical increase in detention facilities that's occurring in the United States, the massive budget increase for ICE that is proposed in the United States. Like, if you kind of put that in comparison to what's happened in Europe in the past, like, if that's the path that we're on, there will come a time where you can leave. It's going to be really hard to leave because you're going to leave with none of your wealth, or you're stuck. And
Hmm.
that's, I think, going to happen more rapidly here, just given the scale of what we're seeing. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Anyway,
Yeah, I hope things turn around. And I don't think that you can bank on that.
yeah, same. I hope so as well.
This question is probably, I feel like that's the most panicked question that I hear from people is maybe not a question, but just a statement like, I'm afraid that by the time that I'm ready to go, it'll be too late, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
But people like circle in that fear instead of going, okay, well, if you really feel afraid of that, let's start making some plans. Let's make an emergency exit plan.
Yeah.
Let's have you talk about where your line in the sand was. Like the other woman I'm working with, the line in the sand was she was in Minneapolis and ICE agents are going door to door asking where the Asian people live. And she has a child who's Asian. So she left. And she's like, I needed to make that decision before. Like, I needed to know that was my line in the sand because that's part of the problem of all of this. When your nervous system is elevated, your logic mind is offline. And so you're
Yes.
not able to make really good plans. And I think that's probably why a lot of people aren't trying to make really good plans. And that's why people need help. And that's part of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, because I think you need somebody who's not in a crisis mode to
Yeah.
come in and listen and help you talk through it and, like, okay, let's make your plan and
Yeah.
let's help you understand. what is your line? And then here's your plan for leaving if that line is crossed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I think those are really good points. I guess the thing I didn't touch on that I should touch on is you can also stay, right? Like people,
Yeah.
obviously, like tons of people stayed in Germany. There was a huge war. Lots of cities were destroyed, not all of them. And then they still had their assets. Everything was depreciated. And it took them generations to climb back to where they currently are. And there's a ton of resentment that's happened within those families. I was speaking to
Hmm.
a woman whose family is from Germany. She's a first generation immigrant in California. And she was saying that for 3 generations, there's been resentment in the families for to the folks that didn't do anything, right? Like they saw things happening and their neighbors were dragged away and all of that stuff. So everything's complex. Whether you stay or go, it's all complex. And there's not, like you said earlier, not one right answer. There are
Hmm.
just options. And then the line in the sand thing, I think, is really, really, really good to point out. And the fact that it had to get to that point where, like, literally, she's in a town where people are going door to door looking for people that match her kid's description is horrifying.
Yeah.
Horrifying. The
Yeah.
other thing, the other thing too, like, I don't know if you want to go into this or maybe a separate conversation for another time. The financial planning piece, I think, is really important and the scariest part for so many of us, so many people. And we also were seeing, and you're experiencing it. I know you are because, like, you guys are you still, you're still taking US dollars, I think?
Yeah, we make US dollars, and then the power of the dollar has gone down significantly since January 2025. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So you're experiencing that. Like the dollar's decreased, I think, by 10 percentage points or something in the last year that Trump's been in
Yeah,
office.
15 to 17. Or well, yeah, if we're like looking at how much it's worth of a euro, like it was 1 to 1 in January 2025, and now it's like 0.84 to 1.
Ooh,
So
yikes.
it's big.
Yeah.
I mean, my rent, because I pay it in euros, has gone up $250. Like
Oh,
the
goodness.
amount of US dollars that it takes to pay my rent,
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah,
crazy.
is that much more since that time.
Yikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that that idea of like how do you plan for that and what do you do with your money? Again, none of us can predict the future, but like where is the safest place for you to store your currency, right? Like all those
Mhm.
things I think are really important topics that would be really beneficial for people that are considering long-term planning, whether they stay in the United States or leave. But I think in particular, if you're going to leave, like those are things to really consider.
Yeah, totally. We need to call in an expert on this.
Financial planner. Well, it
Yeah.
would be really good. I've transitioned like all of my 401ks from they were mostly like in United States stocks. I've transitioned them into foreign stocks. And then we've invested in actually Swiss francs, because like they're very stable, right?
Yeah.
Not everything, but like we're slowly starting to diversify and obviously like cryptocurrencies and things like that. But like really trying to diversify where so much in the past of our financial plan was American, right? Like
Hmm.
S&P 500 and like diversified portfolios, but in the United States and like property in the United States, like everything was in the United States. And so now it's more like,
Hmm.
what can we do that's not just in the United States? So that if things do degrade here in ways that they have in other countries when similar leaders have come to power,
Right.
which doesn't happen in the first year, right? It usually happens in out years. So now we're entering year two.
Hmm.
So what does that mean? Like, how do you plan for that? Right. So anyway,
Yeah.
I think all of those things would be really helpful, but they're also very scary and technical. And so I do think having an expert come in and talk about that would be really good.
Yeah, totally. Somebody who has a good view of international finances.
Yeah. I
Because
bet
I
you could
think,
find, yeah, I bet you could find some really good like advisors that are based outside the US that could do that.
yeah, that's a really good idea. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I want to learn it. So
Fine.
yes, please find them, Andy.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you for hanging out with me
Yeah, it's a
today.
pleasure. Thank you for
Yeah.
inviting me.
Yeah, it was super good to talk to you. I think your perspective, just from doing all the research that you've done yourself,
Yeah.
and then the wide variety of people that you've talked to, it brings such a good perspective, but also a really normalizing perspective, I think, to people who are hearing this. And so I really appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. All right. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Nice to talk with you.
Yeah, nice to talk to you. Bye.
Bye.